Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations. We have a really serious topic that we're going to discuss on today's show. First and foremost, we always want to say thank you to Pastor Tony Smith for allowing us to come before you and to express our views, our opinions. We are going to talk about violence among our youth. Our youth are dying in astronomical numbers, and today we're going to just try to make some sense of this in a great conversation about it. Let's get right into the show. Why are so many of our youth dying, becoming victims of gun violence? Talk to me.
I guess I'll go. I think there's various reasons. One being that, not to say that it's being glorified, but I think access to like exposure has increased. Like in my experience back in the day, like I only knew like my neighborhood. I couldn't tap into somebody that's all the way across town. So seeing it on social media, also like culturally, I know, and I can't believe that I'm the one that's saying this because I hated it when I was younger. It's like the music, the rap music. But the reality is it is being glorified in these songs on social media, like having all the money, having the guns. People aren't fighting anymore. Not that you should be fighting, you know what I mean? Like I'm not condoning it, but I feel like the only option that sometimes the youth feel like they have is to, especially if they feel like they've been defeated or disrespected, is to take it a step up and to use means such as guns, which is awful. Don't do that. But that's the reality of the times.
And I think the youth nowadays have too much freedom. They can go to the mall. They can go anywhere. They can, catch buses and go places that we never could do back in the day. And I remember back in my time, Pastor Pooh might remember, at 11 o'clock at night, it said on TV, do you know where your children are? At 11 o'clock, it said it every night, and they need to say that now all during the day so the mothers and fathers can go check on their children. They let them catch Ubers to the mall. They take them to the mall and drop them off instead of going in there with them, and let them get whatever they're going for. Because what does a teenager need to be? Why does a teenager need to be at the mall all day long on Saturday? Why? Get something else to do. Give them some chores to do around the house, and then they won't be able to go to the mall. We had chores. We cleaned up. We ironed. We did all of that. They need to have some constructive things to do at home. That's what they need to do.
Well, see, I think that's the problem. There is nothing constructive to do at the home, or in some cases, children are fleeing from the home because the home is just as toxic, unhealthy, unsafe, unloving, not peaceful. So some of these children, not all, this is not everybody's story, some of them are escaping their world, and then they hook up with people that they feel are big sisters, big brothers. In some of those cases, those people don't have a good influence, so they begin to cultivate them to what they want them to be and introduce them to certain things. Then you have certain families that the family dynamic has changed. You have single-parent homes, or even if it's two-parent homes, parents are working hard, working multiple jobs, and they, I'm not a parent. I hear parents say it all the time. There's no manual, so they don't know how to juggle, or they didn't have the right parenting structure to then teach them how to properly parent. So I think it's a domino effect and it's so many various reasons why, but I do agree with the music glorifies it. People have idols and their favorite rapper, their favorite artist, and they see it, so they emulate those people because they don't have a role model at home. And so it's so many different variables, I think, that are why they're experiencing the things that they are.
I think there's a strong, and it's something really that has been developing over the last few decades. One thing is there is an increasingly acceptance of saying that it's okay for a person to seek revenge. The other thing is that if we look at the nature of the kinds of toys and games that our kids play with, many of them are impact related. Smash it, knock it, grab it, push it, in some way demolish it. And so it really, and these minds are being affected by that. It only makes worse difference when they're the ones that are getting the smack, the hitting and the knocking and the banging and all like that. But if they're doing it to other things and even being trained in terms of how they play and the kinds of toys and resources that they use, it really is an encouragement that it's okay to have revenge. It's okay to beat this one down. My granddaughter has one of these games. I'm not going to say what the name of it is because I don't want to get sued. But in this one little character, the whole object of interacting with that character is to beat him up, to smash him, and to knock him down. I said, oh, I feel so bad for him. Can't he get a break sometime? No, that's how it's supposed to be. But see, but that's what she feeds on, and she likes that. So a lot of that has to do with the nature of how our children are encouraged to play.
Right. And then back in the day, back in my time, we didn't buy our children guns. Now the children get those Nerf guns, all kind of guns to play with, and then they learning on these little games on TV how to shoot this person, pow, pow, because that's all I hear in my other room is pow, pow from my grandson. And now he has been banned from playing those games because it's just too much. And I think that our young people, back in the day, I had to say that because I'm back in the day. I'm from back there. We used to fight. And not me personally, but we used to fight, come back and say, let's squash this. No, they don't squash nothing, they shoot it. They don't squash nothing, they shoot something. You know, we didn't do that. We come back to school. I've been in one fight in my whole school year, and I got beat up, really beat up. But we came back and we squashed it. We didn't go say, okay, I'm going to get my big brother. He going to shoot you. That's what they do nowadays.
How are so many young people getting access to these weapons when they're underage, where you're not supposed to carry a gun until 21?
I have no idea how to get one, but you can talk to someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows someone, and you can
Connection.
Yeah, you can get what you want, what you need, what you think you need. We were talking about the violence in the video games, and it just devalues life. Like it makes it seem life is not valuable. Like, oh, this is a casualty. This is like inconsequential. Like, this doesn't matter. You can shoot this one. Keep going. And so I remember, and this is when my nephew now is like about 21, almost 21, and when he was like 14, 15, he's playing one of the auto games, and it's like you grabbing this one, you shooting this one, you getting a new car. It's theft, it's robbery, it's violence, it's guns, and it's like it's
That's what it's called.
yeah. And it was just like it was easy for him. It was like, yeah, this is how life is supposed to be. And I'm like, you like this?
Well,
that's what they like.
They said over here, you said, what was it called?
It's called Grand Theft
Theft.
Auto. Like, and so I mean, I don't know if I'm supposed to say it, but like that is the intent. And so, like Pastor Poole said, that becomes the stimulator of the mind. And I think another thing that Elder Sutton said is there is no conflict resolution. Like how we can, I think, even as adults sometimes, or peaceful, even how you're raised as a kid sometimes determines how you become as an adult. If you weren't taught conflict resolution as a kid, you don't know how to conflict resolution as a teenager or as a young adult. And I think some of that also is like, it's beyond just the theft and that. I think some of it is a lot of our children are tapped into drugs. So when you drugged up and you doped up, then you have the courage and the boldness to involve yourself in certain things that you would not have if you were sober minded, or if you didn't have the pills and you didn't have all these different drugs. Well, that becomes your driving force, or the courage for you to participate in robberies, participate in theft, participate in shooting someone because you're drugged up.
And I like to watch news. I watch news all the time. People say, it's so violent, I don't want to watch news, but I watch it. I want to know what's going on. And I found out that a lot of these guns are called ghost guns. I heard that on the news. They order them, put them all, they tell them how to fix them, put them all together. There's no serial number on them. They cannot be traced. So that's where the young people are getting these guns. And then, believe it or not, their fathers, their mothers, their uncles are giving them guns, especially if they go to school or go wherever and somebody bother them and they say, here, get this gun and you go do this. You know, some people do that. They just don't care. And nowadays, we don't care. Young people don't care about life. They don't care about just going taking somebody's life. You know, just go out and, okay, he hit me, so I'm going to just kill him. You know what I'm saying? And you get these ghost guns and you can shoot somebody and nobody can trace the gun. Nobody can tell where it came from or anything. You can just throw it away or whatever. They can't track you.
Well, let's talk about, speaking of news, let's talk about the children and the parental responsibility that lies on our children. So in a Fox 45 News article, it says this. It says the intervention has to take place now, and some of it will be police intervention in terms of a larger presence of police officers. But we can never take out that element that we need more parental intervention. So let's talk about our role as parents in the violence concerning our youth. Why should the police even have to ask the parents to assist?
I'm going to say this. So I have an adult child. He is over 30. And I take some responsibility of when he was younger of things I didn't do. And I think parents need to take responsibility, and I think that's the issue. They don't want to say, oh, I should have did this when he was 2, or I should have been more mindful of the company he kept when he was going into his preteens. I should have sat down with him or her and spoke about values of the importance of life, the importance of education. And I think now if I was to, not that the Lord is calling me to this, have a child at this age, I think that I would raise that child differently than I did my adult child, because I didn't know any better. But now that you are mature and you know, I don't think there's nothing wrong for a parent is saying, I don't know how to raise my child and I need help. And I think people get to a point to say to themselves, I don't need nobody help, this is my child, I'm gonna do this. But it's something that's been said along, through generations, that does take a village to raise your children. I know when my mother, I used to say my grandmother a lot because my mother worked at nights, me and my brothers, and my grandmother lived on a corner, and we knew every house on that street, and every person on that street knew us. Now, of course, this was a long time ago, but if we went past Mr. Johnson's house, Mr. Johnson made sure we walked into the house.
That's right.
Okay, when we walked past Miss Shirley and Mr. Jones, whoever, they make sure they sat outside on the porch and they watched us going up and down the street. Or they will ask, where are you going? If you're in the market, they'll ask you, certain things. But now this generation, the parents now, and I have to be honest, so, some of them are not thinking about their children because they're like, I got to live my life. I got things I got to do. They're old enough to do whatever it is they want to do. And I think that's the wrong attitude to have. And I understand that some people are like, well, I didn't have a mother to teach me and things like that. I didn't have a father to teach me, or my father isn't here or whatever, and my father's doing his thing or whatever. I understand that. But you have to come to yourself, and sometimes, which I do often, Minister Bree, is talk to myself and just, tell myself, okay, what is it that I did wrong? What is it that, even though that my son is an adult, hopefully what I could not give to my child, I can give to somebody else. And I think that's very important, to give back. You can't fix what you did for your child, but you can encourage someone else. So I think it's important for us as mothers, as fathers, to take on the responsibility of saying, I did this wrong, I did that wrong, but now that I know better, that this is what I want to put inside someone else's children or someone else's child. But the most important thing that I can say is, when you're raising your child, you have to teach them values. You have to teach them the importance of who they are. You have to teach them. You can't be just agreeing and doing whatever you want to do with everyone else. Drugs is a big thing. Alcohol is a big thing because it is a outlet of certain things. And, you know, I am real big on, don't take me, you know, not against any therapist, Toya, or anything like that, but if you take me somewhere and you say, okay, well, this person has an issue, you bipolar. No, I'm not. I'm not bipolar. I just got issues that's going on from my past that I need to uproot and tear down. And then you get put on this medication. You get put on these pills because this doctor said to you, because of your, you know, things you went through when you were younger has stemmed from this. So now your doctor ain't gonna prescribe you that pills no more. So what you're gonna have to do is go on the street and you're gonna have to find something to help soothe you. So that's why I'm out on the street wilding out, because I'm not dealing with the root of who I am. So don't come and say, now there are some cases where that may be true. But there are some cases where the Bible says uproot and tear down. And I think there are sometimes we don't uproot and we don't tear down. You know, we're just give you a pill, you be fine, and move on to the next thing. And I disagree with that. So I do think we need to take responsibility, and we need to be able to tell our children, I was wrong. This is where I was wrong at. And I'm willing to fix it if you allow me to fix it. Now, there are some children that are like, I'm an adult now, I don't got time for it, it's over, whatever, I understand that. But mothers and fathers, we have to take responsibility. It is not a police's responsibility to raise my child. It's not. It's up to me. If the father's present, you know, to God be the glory. If the mother isn't present and the father is present. But it is our responsibility as adults to take on the responsibility of raising our children.
And I think we need to do it early. Because children have personalities, and those personality manifestations occur early in their lives. So that's why some kids are very quiet and docile, and they're not real fussy. Then you have the ones who are fussy, and that's just a part of what their personality development is like. But when we need to check them, it's important. It's love on them, definitely, because they need that. But they need correction, and they need correction early. Because otherwise, if they have a temper tantrum and they think it's okay to smack your brother and slap your sister and do all of these things, even when they're younger and nobody says anything except, okay, don't pay them any mind, stuff like that, then that gives them license to think that it's okay to manifest those behaviors and work it out on other people. So they need to be trained early about not only respecting other people's rights not to be hurt, but yes, you may get angry, but there are other ways that you can manage that. So we have to teach those children early. I don't think it's good to think it's so cute when a child is spoiled and everybody is miserable because the spoiled child wants to have their way. But they have to understand that they exist in a world with other people, and you just can't have your way all the time.
That's right.
Elder Sutton, you mentioned a while ago about the commercial that comes on, Do You Know Where Your Children Are? And back then, even in my time, I remember that commercial, we didn't have access to technology. You know, our parents didn't have access to technology like there is today.
Right.
So parents now have access to their kids like 24/7. So I don't get it, like, you don't know where your kids are. Like, you can FaceTime. If you Android, you can Duo. You can, yeah, but you still got the trackers and all of this stuff, and you got, you know, their friends. Where is my daughter? She's always with you. You know, I don't understand why. I don't get it.
The echoes, this is what I love, the echo, you can call the echo and just pop right into the room. They don't even know. I love it. I mean, so if you have an echo, you just, you can call, and the kid could be, you know, watch TV, you go, hey, what you doing?
And you also can get.
Listen, I don't care if you got Find My iPhone, Find My Apple Watch, Find My iPad, Find My Echo, Find My Nemo, I don't know, whatever you had. Kids are smart. Okay? Kids know how to have the phone where you want it to be so you can find it, and you're going to find it right where it's going to be, and the phone is there, but they're not. Okay? So children are smart. Children know how to maneuver. You can have a Ring doorbell, you can have a camera, you can have it all. Kids know how to finagle. I was a kid. That's how I know. And my childhood was before a lot of social media and all these different things. And I was slick. Mommy, if you didn't know, I'm sorry. But I was very slick. And I'm not glorifying it. I'm just saying it's so. And then Elder Chantal said something, I think it's commendable for a mother or a parent to acknowledge they're wrong. But sometimes you can do everything possible as a parent. You can give them all that they're supposed to have. You can work. You can take them on all the trips. You can give them all the exposure. But at the end of the day, a child or a kid, they're not with you 24/7. They go to school. They're around aunts and uncles, and it is crucial. And I don't mean to babble, but it's crucial who they're around, because that one moment of exposure, one moment of seeing things, or one moment of experiencing things can undo everything that you have done as a parent. And so when you get in high school and you have all these different temptations, and 8 hours of your day you're around new cultures and new things, like that changes that you was raised in church and that you go to church and you do all those different things. And so it becomes a war with children in their mind. What's right, what's wrong, what they taste. I was raised in a good family. My mother was a Christian, believing woman, prayer woman, and I got involved with wrong people. Wrong people. Things that could have killed me. Not because I didn't have a mother that was present, not because she didn't expose me, had all the clothes, had all the shoes, I had everything I needed. But I got into environments that gave me a taste of things, and I began to chase after those things, and I began to lie, and I began to hook and crook, and beginning to be. And so it's not about you not doing everything right as a parent. Sometimes children just get exposed to different things. And when they get exposed to different things, and some things are stages. Sometimes it's just a stage, and if you don't pay attention to a stage can be long. It can stay longer than a stage. You know what I mean? So it might be a stage, and then sometimes children go through divorces. They go through different things. Not that they have two parents. So it's not everybody wasn't raised in the ghetto. Everybody wasn't raised in the hood. Everybody wasn't introduced to drugs. There are things that can happen, deaths, different things, and those things set people off. People have mental challenges, generational curses with certain mental things. All these different things are factors, and I think the key as sisters, as godmothers, as parents, we have to pay attention to the changes in our children. Yes. We have to be involved, and I'm sorry if I'm talking too long, but we have to be involved in their lives to know who they're connected to, who's their best friend, who has their attention, in church, who has their attention, cousins, big sisters. You have family members that might have different lifestyles, sexual lifestyles, and all those different things, and they see it, and it becomes a contradict, and it really, and I said it becomes a war with what they know and what they see. So it's not always about you being a bad parent. Sometimes it's life, and life is wicked. Life is like a lot. It's a lot out here. So we as believers, as family members, have to pay attention to the things that they're introduced to and the things that they touch, so that we can save. And you're not going to be able to raise your children if you don't know the Lord. If you don't have a prayer life, if you don't know the Lord, because that will be your hope in the time where you see a shift and a change in your children. So. It's the environment too. What children are around, because I was a single parent for a lot of years with 2 kids, and I raised up my children in Walbrook Junction, and I saw that my son was going the wrong way, and I was like, I got to get away from over here, and I moved over on this side because I thought sure my son was going to be a drug dealer. So I moved over here away from Walbrook Junction, and I got over here, and he still got around that environment. He never was a drug dealer, but he got around and did things that was not pleasing to me or in God's eyesight. And I still, it was the environment for me, the people he was around. He did what they did. It's the peer pressure
that these children are going through. And then nowadays in school, you got so much. They go into the laboratories and do drugs. They go in the laboratories and do all kinds of things. So it's in school, it's everywhere. I remember, I'm gonna say this real quick. We had, back in my day, we had Officer Friendly. You remember Officer Friendly? He used to walk around and talk to the kids and try to help them out. And we had the big brothers. Where did all of that's at? We need some of that to come back. Officer Friendly's walking around, going to the school, talking to these kids, or the big brother outfits where you can go and spend all day Saturday. They can take you to the mall. They take you to the mall and they supervise you. Now you know, I didn't say this, and I keep saying I'm gonna say this, but I was coming here today, and when I turned the corner, there was this little girl. She looked like she about 9 or 10, waiting on the bus. And I kept looking around like, where mother? Where's somebody? Is somebody with her? And then she sat down on the bench. So I imagine she was waiting for the bus by herself. 9 or 10 years old, you don't do that. You can't let your kid go out. I take kids to school. I took Jabba to school all the way up to 12th grade because you got to be mindful of where your children go and who they go with. So it's the environment for us, y'all. Watch these kids. Don't let them go out there with just anybody. You can't send your kids. Sometimes you can't send your kids to your family member's house because whatever they're doing in there may not be good for your kid.
How can we as the church help? Because we play a part in it as well, in as far as helping get involved with helping to combat the violence on our youth. Is it resources? Is it more, is it more counseling through our churches? What do you think? Toya?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that an option could be, an option could be like more events, and it doesn't have to necessarily have like a theme of, oh, we're bringing this in or we're doing something so grand. I think that the youth just need, in some instances, a place to talk without being, like, to get good counsel without their parents. Like, yeah, they all have great, in some instances, really great parents, but they don't feel like they can tell them everything, or there's always like the wisdom that comes with it and possibly the lesson, like the consequence, and that breeds fear. But to have a safe place for them to be able to talk about different things, I think is necessary. Process groups, like how do you interact with your peers? How do you do problem resolution in a peaceful way? Like, a godly Christian way. How are you dealing with being a Christian in a secular world every day? Like, we go to work, you can pick and choose who you want to talk to. Like, they're paired up in groups for projects. They're sitting inside of the cafeteria. Well, I don't know, like COVID right now, things are a little different. But overall, it's like, we can't control every experience that they have, but we can help them to process it and understand, like, how do I handle this? And this is what happened, and I feel bad, or just like, teach them the grace and the love of God, and just to make good decisions is an idea that I would have. And I think it's bigger than the church. I think that, just like you said with the Officer Friendly, like, in my experience with the city schools and maybe the county, I don't know, they don't, like, you're in class all day, you go to lunch, and it's so militant, so to speak, and children are rebelling, like, they have different ways of learning, but there are certain jurisdictions where they have, like, A day, B day, and they have, like, a whole hour or 45 minutes of, like, free period, where they have, like, those mentors inside of the class to help them do homework, because not everyone is coming home to somebody that's going to help them do their homework, or even, I could help you, but I got YouTube and stuff, because I don't remember how to do it. Like, they have people in place to help them out, and that should be something not just for a select set of children, but everybody should have access to something like that. And even like after school programs, like, I used to go to recs sometimes. Like, we still have recs, but not really. Like, they're closing down, or they have limited time periods. But the children are going to the malls. I went to the mall. I went to skating. I went to the movies. And then you linger because that's your social, environment. Like, what else are you going to do? So I think that the city, the church, we need to create environments that is not always like, we have really great worship, the word here, church services, but they get that on Sunday. Like, they need something socially where they can be safe and be empowered, and not have to run to the streets for it, because they're at an age where, like, peer impact is more important than what the adults have to say.
Well, unfortunately, we only have a half hour for this show. We could do so much more, but we encourage you, if you have questions or you need to reach out to someone, we encourage you to find your local violence helpline. If you need prayer, we have a prayer line that is open during our church broadcast. That is on Wednesdays at 12 noon. Wednesdays at 6 p.m., and Sundays at 9 a.m., and Sundays at 11 a.m. That number is 410-435-2216. And again, that prayer line is open during when our services are open. Throughout the entire service, you can call for prayer. We know this is a hard topic to talk about, but we know with prayer, all things are possible. So we encourage you to reach out to our prayer line, call your local violence helpline, and we will see you next time for more conversations.